Welcome and thank you for tuning in to Inside Out, Conversations of Prison and Reentry. I am Micah Hayes. I'm your host for this show. This show is about mass incarceration. Today we're talking about self-worth. And I actually interviewed a young man who's 24 years old. He's been out of prison for 3 years now, but he was incarcerated as a juvenile, spent 4 years and 3 months incarcerated as a young man. Let's just listen up to what we talked about when I went out and interviewed him. And this guy's great. He's an entrepreneur now. He's owns his own house. He's just a really solid guy in the community. And he just has some really important things to say about what it felt like to be in process to prison. So let's check this out. Yeah, so just know that anything you say can and will be used against you in the court of law. All right. No, I'm just joking. All right. So, yeah, man, this is actually about a more serious topic, man. Like, we're talking about incarceration, mass incarceration, and at the time you were a juvenile, if I do the math right. So, like, we're talking, both of us have been through the processing of going into the prison industrial complex through county jail, and then going shipped to a prison. And
state.
It's not a beautiful thing. It's not funny. It's not fun. But yeah, man. So I'm gonna just challenge you to just speak your truth and just let the audience know how it was, man. Being in process.
Yeah. So I mean, it was sort of similar to county, but it was a lot more intimidating and scary. They came and got me and put me in a car, actually. So I was like, where am I going? Like, I'm not getting on the bus. And but they took me up to Morganton, which is the foothills, is where it's at. And coming up to the prison, it was just I'd never seen a prison before, and it just looked insane.
Yeah,
because it was like 5 levels of fences. Whoa. That's an exaggeration, but it was, a bunch of levels of fences and barbed wire, and I was kind of shaking. I was kind of nervous. They took my stuff and they told me they took me into this other room, and there was 2 of them with gloves on and stuff, and they had a different outfit than
2 officers.
2 officers with me, 2 dudes, and they seemed nice enough, whatever, but they took me and they told me, strip down all the way down. And I was like, I mean, I've had that happen in county before, but here it was definitely different. They do it a lot more. It's definitely dehumanizing. It's definitely an experience that people don't want to have. Yeah, they made me spread my arms, and they also make you lift up.
Yeah.
Lift your nuts up and stuff.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, be real.
Also, even they made you do a lot of stuff. Turn around, spread your cheeks.
Yeah.
And that, open your mouth. Oh my gosh.
It's kind of weird.
They make you do all that, and then at the end they're like, open your mouth, put your finger in your mouth. Type shit. Yeah.
So then basically, I remember, so they give you your linen, they give you your clothes and stuff, send you back to the block. What were the feelings right at that moment when you got to the block or the dorm or wherever it was?
I was super nervous. I mean, I at that time, I was focused on who was I about to meet in here, what was about to go down, what, who do I need to fight?
Yeah.
I was just nervous as hell, man.
Yeah.
I was nervous as hell, and I was scared.
Yeah.
I just didn't know what to expect. I didn't know if it would be all right, because I only knew what stories were, and everybody, of course, tells the worst stories. And
yeah,
they don't tell you. Out of 10 years, this one time.
Yeah.
So it's
one time I saw someone get stabbed, and that's the only thing that they tell everyone.
Yeah.
I saw this one person get stabbed.
Yeah, so that's why so it's not, it didn't end up being that bad, because clearly I never got stabbed or anything, but
when I was incarcerated, for that first year, man, it was rough. I was like, man, I don't know who I am without this job and the money and the attention from the girls and the cars and
the people, the family.
So what did that do, you think, to your self-worth and stuff, at that first moment when you just sat down in the block and you're in the block and now you're in prison, you're like, oh shit.
Yeah. Man, I have 4 years left in here. Like, this is a lot. And I was breaking down, of course. You know, I'm like, holy cow, like this is crazy. I'm gonna have to be in here for 4 years, like no more going out. And it brought me down, especially, you know, without having everything. I had like a girlfriend when I went in there, and of course, you know, that was my first love. You know, so I thought it was everything. So of course I knew that was gonna end, but it still didn't make it easier. So losing, you know, all the support, all my friends, I wasn't even able to finish high school, you know, graduate, even finish my junior year. So I definitely felt like shit. You know, I didn't know who I was for sure, especially without all those things that, you know, made me who I was.
Wow, that was really an incredible moment with Evan Hayes, and you know, he has so much insight on the inside of prison as a juvenile and actually being in maximum security as a juvenile. And I was just so, you know, intense, some of the thoughts that I had about my own incarceration during that interview, about, you know, how I felt personally being in processed. It was pretty traumatic. So the next person I actually interviewed, her name is Kristi Hrivnak. She is an emotional intelligence counselor, and she heads up an initiative called the Prison Healing Initiative. And so she is an energy healer that tunes in with people that are incarcerated, and she works with them on dealing with traumas that they have endured during prison. And she also has some very intelligent things to speak about, and very interesting things. And I interviewed her, and before I do that, I want to actually read an excerpt from one of my good friends who was incarcerated, who Kristi works with, Michael Burge. He's 35 years old, and he has been incarcerated for 13 years now. So I want to read an excerpt that he wrote. The topic was, if you could talk to your younger self, what would you tell them about incarceration before you went there? And so this is what he had to say. Dear younger self, you're about to go on a journey. It's going to be long and arduous. It's also going to be what you make it. People are going to judge you, look down on you, devalue you as a human. Don't question your own worth, because it isn't tied inextricably to your mistakes and failures, but by your response to them. There will be a temptation to blame others, to let your anger, sadness, or fears inform your decisions. Instead, let truth, optimism, and empathy guide you. You will meet some wicked people on this journey. Avoid them at all cost. You will meet some beautiful people on this journey. Let them in, because it is the only way you can truly love and be loved. Above all else, though, find yourself. This journey has the potential to be one of the deep self-discoveries, so take advantage of it. Think, think, think. If you find yourself, you will find your worth, and you will find your path to all your life's desires the right way. Now, Kristi has a very unique standpoint, because she's not directly involved with incarceration except for working with people through their healing. So she has a very intentional and very useful knowledge base, and she's used this to help me understand things about my own incarceration. But listen to what she has to say about the repressed emotions of a childhood and how that plays out after incarceration and during incarceration.
The one thing that I will say is, all human beings, like, we all have these core sort of traumas that we experience in our first 7 years. And that's the energy that we then repress in our bodies. And it's that energy that a life experience such as incarceration would activate or trigger in the body. And those are the emotions that would come out. So even though it seems like it's all about that present day situation, it's actually that the present day situation is activating old energy that's been pushed away.
I've repressed those emotions from the in processing into prison, and then like the dehumanization of just being labeled as a number and given, you know, clothes that are the similar to everyone else, and just like being taken out of my individual self and created, embedded in this system where everyone's just a felon. And so I repressed those emotions also.
So to begin the healing process, like a lot of what you were saying earlier, let me start with that piece of like how that the process of entering into prison was affecting you, like all of the different steps, the clothes, the this, the that. A lot of what I would imagine a lot of the healing would entail is separating the external world from the inside, because there are some things that nobody can ever take from you. They can take a lot of outside stuff, but there's certain things that we have inside that nobody can take from you. And sometimes when people are taking everything on the outside, we give away the inside. So we actually give away our power because we say, well, look what these people are doing. They're taking this, this, and this from me. And then by doing that, we lose the one thing that we do have, which is our own power of our own inner world and where we're gonna, give our energy to. So there is, I think it's that recognition that they can take what they can take, but they can't take the thing that actually makes you you. Like we think that we're made up of all these external things, the clothes we wear, like what we do, our job. And sure, those things are parts of our identity, but they're not the essence of who we are. That cannot be taken. And I think we live in this it's like an illusory kind of a society where we think it's all about the outside, but really, it's about the inside, and different life experiences I think they're meant to teach us that. Whether or not we take the opportunity to learn it and to seize our power is really up to us. But
at the beginning, when I was incarcerated, I realized that I didn't know a whole much about myself. Like I just didn't realize I didn't know myself that well without all the things, without social media, without a car, without a job, so my self-worth was like immediately diminished because I had so much invested in that as my identity. And so when it was taken away, I was like, I had to relearn like my whole system of values, the essence, like you said, the essence of who I was. Like you said, obviously there's not a remedy that's the same for each person, but have you recognized like people's diminished self-worth? Is that a similar trend throughout most people? Like, can you see people's diminished self-worth in this process of going from freedom to incarceration?
It still I keep going back to that thing I said originally, where so if we're a child and we are taught that our worth comes from, getting a good job and having money and being friends with the cool kids and this is the idea that we get, then this problem of self-worth, it starts way back there. And then we start living our life and we start kind of buying into this illusion and we start trying to make the money because we think that's fueling our self-worth. And then, maybe life brings you into an experience like your experience where you have to go to prison, and then it feels like it's prison that's making you feel bad about yourself. But really, the bad feeling about yourself was there the whole lifetime. It's just that prison was the thing. It was like the mirror that was like, here you go. Now you have to look at everything and you have to look at it all the time because there's no distractions here. So it's true. Like these things, whether it's self-worth, whether it's not feeling loved, whether it's, feeling invisible, like all of these things, they're there all the time. And it's just like, which life experience is gonna activate me to look at this?
All right. I bet it's hard dealing with guys. I'm telling you, I've dealt with those guys for years. I bet it's hard dealing with them. Nah, there's some good guys in there though. There really is. There may be a person that was 10 times worse a year ago. When you see him now, he might not be doing, the things he was doing a year ago, but you still just think like, man, he doesn't have it together. Like, but you don't know how far he came. I think it's important in everybody's walk because we all need to recognize our own humanness and that we've made mistakes and that we were in bad places. And that it's like, you don't know, like this person could be different next year, next week. The work that you're doing is really important. It's really important to me, and it's really important to those guys that you're helping and people that you are going to be helping in the future for sure. So thank you for that. Thank you so much for that.
Wow, those interviews were amazing, and they both touched on really good points about self-worth and how incarceration really affects someone's ability to maintain their self-worth inside of a carceral situation. So thank you guys for listening. I'm running out of time. Again, this is Micah Hayes. I'm your host for Inside Out, Conversations of Prison and Reentry. Tune in next time. We will talk about educational experiences during incarceration and how that helps a person avoid recidivism once they are released from prison. So we'll have a co-host. His name is Patrick Balls. He's a UNC Asheville professor. He is also the program director for UNCA's prison education program. Really intelligent guy, very invested in the rehabilitation of people that are incarcerated through education. Tune in next time, and let's elevate your awareness about mass incarceration. All right, thanks.